train skills, but back then, you know, you kind of had to find your own way and get lucky and all this kind of stuff.
You had to know someone,
yeah, and
right?
so back then it really was a dream. I was like, I don't think I could ever, I don't know who makes these games, I don't know, you know, where they come from, but they're amazing and they're inspirational. But I was like, entertainment, so I wanted to go to film school. So I actually, in a previous life, I was going to go to film school, go to Hollywood, so there was school for that, right? So I went to school, but I was also a huge nerd, and I loved, you know, Japanese animation and manga and comics and all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to, you know, against my father's wishes, study Japanese and also be a huge nerd. So that took me on a study abroad to Japan. I ended up over there working at a small localization company, and they did a lot of video games. They did a lot of video game scripts. They did a lot of video game voiceover work, and that was kind of my just lucky backdoor, you know, foot in the door into the games business in Japan, and then came back. And I joined a little company called Midway Games after that, way back in the day. But having a little, just speaking Japanese and having a little bit of localization experience under my belt was enough for, you know, a game company to let you in the door. Because back then, if you didn't have experience, you couldn't get a job. But if you didn't have a job, you couldn't get experience. So it was this whole chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, right.
But I got lucky and I got a little bit of experience, and then the rest was history. And then I learned tons about development and publishing and licensing and all that just on the job over the course of about 13 or so years.
Now, over at Marvel Games right now, you're the executive producer over there, but you've actually worked on some pretty incredible games that I'm big fans of. You maybe want to tell everyone here in the audience and at home some of the games that you worked on while you were at Capcom?
Oh, right. So,
which amazing games?
So I joined more recently. That was years ago. More recently, I joined Marvel last year, actually, to the Marvel Games team, and I joined from Capcom Games that some of you may be familiar with, Street Fighter, Resident Evil, and so on. I actually spent a lot of time on the Resident Evil franchises and Dead Rising, and so my life was zombies for a really, really long time. But I was also a huge fighting game fan, right? And so I was a hardcore Street Fighter player and went to all the tournaments, Seven Evolution, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, didn't get to work directly on Street Fighter, but did get to work with some of the guys that were doing the Marvel vs. Capcom games and sort of, you know, play builds and provide feedback and talk about the character selection and those kinds of things. And so, and I actually worked in Japan at Capcom, and that was like a dream come true, right? Like every day I had to like pinch myself, like, wow, I'm waking up in the candy store, right? I got the keys to the kingdom, and I'm here with all these amazing people that made these games I grew up with.
Right.
And then now I'm at Marvel, and it's my second dream job, and it's amazing. So I feel so lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and honored to be here and with the community and see everybody who enjoys, you know, all the fruits of our labor and hard work, because you don't get that many opportunities as a game dev when you're in the cave, right, making a game for years, to actually see people playing the games and enjoying them and having so much fun with them, which is why we all got into this in the first place, right?
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Bill, how about you? You've got a great story, too.
So, you know, Mike talking about dream jobs, you know, mine was easy. It only took me 45 years to get here. So I consider myself pretty lucky. I mean, it began second grade. I walked into my school's book fair, and there was a collection of amazing Spider-Man comics, the first 6 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and that was it. That changed my life. I said, I want to be Peter Parker. And then, fast forward, when I was 18, I was actually working in an arcade. So I was a big comic fan and a big game fan. And then, a hop, skip, and a jump from working in an arcade to working for Marvel Games. In between there, I was lucky right out of college, got a job with Marvel, and I was a freelance writer, and that was my dream. I wanted to go to Marvel, make comic books, and did that for 20 years, and was lucky enough to work on all sides of the biz. I came in through marketing and then eventually got into editorial, and I was lucky enough to be asked to work on the Cosmic books, and had a hand in putting together the Guardians of the Galaxy team that you saw on the silver screen, because when I was 15, I was a big fan of a Rocket Raccoon miniseries, and I said, let's bring Rocket back. So there you go.
That was an Infinity.
Yeah,
and now he's here.
A small little film you might have
right over there.
Insane. It began because, like you, I was just a fan of these characters, and I said, I want to dust them off and introduce them to the fans. So, yeah. So 45 years, that's all it takes to get here to work for Marvel Games.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Bill. Matt?
My entry into video games was not maybe the most common way either. I think when I started out, I joined Lucas in 1999. I've been with the company for 16 years.
Wow.
So it's been a great long run. Definitely, we could probably all arm wrestle over who thinks they have the dream job. I definitely feel like I was a huge fan of not only video games, but all the Lucasfilm properties. as a kid coming up in Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and I got an opportunity to actually join the company. I started off in the legal department, believe it or not, doing paralegal work. But that was really a great opportunity because in that position, I got to work with production and marketing and all the different groups publishing in seeing how games got made and brought to market. And ultimately got an opportunity to make a transition into production. And I started off one of my very first projects as a producer was Republic Commando, which is a game that is near and dear to my heart. And I really love that experience and that team a lot. And worked in the internal studio at Lucas for 10 years on a variety of different projects, including the Force Unleashed series. And ultimately got an opportunity to switch over and work with some of our external partners, EA and different partners working on games. And along comes Disney, and now we're part of the Disney family, and we've had such a fantastic time. Now we have such a broad spectrum of different games that we're working off on all different platforms for mobile games, and get to partner with Avalanche and do Infinity. It's been fantastic. So.
Awesome. Let's hear a little bit about your background, because this one I'm very curious of, since I'm just meeting you for the first time right now, live on Twitch.
I'm Albert Lozano, and actually I have very minimal experience in the gaming industry, although my career sort of been bookended by it. My first job was working at a small CD-ROM company called Mission Control that was owned by Michael Giacchino, who now composes a lot of the music for our films and many other things. He had a small CD-ROM company, and he gave me my very first job right out of school. I went to Cal Arts in animation, and that was my first experience. He was trying to develop other animated projects, which I got really into. And so when that business sort of fell apart, we all sort of disbanded, but kind of somehow found our way together again much later on. I went to work at Spumco, actually, for John Kricfalusi, and then I worked at South Park for a couple years.
Oh, wow.
I worked on the first 2 seasons of the show, and then I worked on the film, and then got the job at Pixar, where I've been working there for about 16 years.
Holy cow.
So the last film I worked on was Inside Out, and as we were finishing working on Inside Out, I got to team up with Jeff and start helping out with the video game that was just recently released, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, having this bookend experience of working in games has been really enjoyable.
So which film are you most proud of that you've worked on?
I'm proud of most of them. I'm really proud of Inside Out right now. When we finished, it was 4 years, and I wasn't sure how people were going to respond to it, and the response has just been really overwhelming, and so that's just been a really fun thing. And so I'm really proud of that film, to be honest. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on Inside Out.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Jeffrey Bunker, how did you get your start?
Well, let me start out by saying there's no contest who has the best job. Because I get to work on Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and Disney. It just...
All right.
I have the dream job. I grew up in a... I'll start back when I was a little boy.
There we go. We got 10 more minutes, Jeff.
The Citizen Kane version.
I grew up in a steel town in Ohio, on the Ohio River, and everybody just grew up expecting that they were going to work in the steel mills, and it was one of those type of stories. So even though I kind of had natural inclinations towards art, never dreamed I could make a living as an artist. I just thought I'd work in a steel mill or something like that, and through time, I just, I went to college to be a dentist, and then as a hobby,
yeah. You have nice teeth.
And as a hobby, I did art, never dreaming I could make money at it, and somehow I started making money at the art before I had to go to dental school, so I kind of trumped that idea, and then I always wanted to work for Disney, but that just seemed like that was an impossible dream. And just working on art, I was doing illustration, came into contact with a small games company that, back then, I was very interested in 3D. This was in the 80s, and it was before Pixar was really popular. But I was dabbling in 3D, and games seemed to be at the forefront of 3D before film was in some ways. And so just as a hobby, I even started doing games. I wasn't even a gamer, to be honest.